What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my WrestleMania 2 review. As you can tell by the logo sitting to my right. Yeah, my right, your left, your right, my left on the camera. The logo's right here. This is my second episode of my 39 WrestleManias in 39 days, coming at you, well, on the second day of the series. Listen, this is my fourth try doing this intro. I'm not redoing it. We're just going to go with that, okay? Anyway, one thing I forgot to mention at the end of WrestleMania 1 review is an overall rating. I averaged everything up. It came up to like a 4.8, so about a 5, which, you know, if you look at the listing from Mania 1, that makes sense. I would say that makes sense based on what we came up with. But today, we have a whole new list of matches to go over. And, it's rough. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. WrestleMania 2 is rough. A little bit of backstory about WrestleMania 2, just to sort of, like, you know, explore their experiment here. WrestleMania 2 was split into 3 segments. Each segment took place in a different location with 4 matches each. This was the stupidest decision. I don't know who cleared this decision. But they hopefully don't make decisions anymore going forward, and they clearly don't make decisions now. Even the guy running it doesn't make the decisions now, for obvious reasons. But anyway, the overall, this event, not great, as you'll see. I will say this, I both like and dislike the celebrity presence at a lot of these WrestleManias. I can't really say that changes. It's basically how every WrestleMania is. Every WrestleMania is for the rest of time. But there are a ton of celebrity appearances in this WrestleMania. It's like all 3 segments have celebrities there, which is very interesting. So, we have our listing here, just as we did before. I'm going to move you over here, Mr. WrestleMania logo. Thank you. You go over there. You're blocking my 10. Thank you. But yeah, so this is my listing here. As before, it goes from 10 at the top, 0 at the bottom. Again, as I said at the WrestleMania 1 review, initially we did these in letter grades before I changed them to numbers. So all of Rob's are going to be in letter grades. But again, an F is going to be a 0 to a 1. A D is a 2 to a 3, a C is a 4, 5, or 6, a B is a 7 and an 8, and an A is a 9 or a 10, and just like before, Rob was nice enough to do minuses and pluses, so I can better tell which one he would have put this in if it was a number. First thing I'll say about the first segment of WrestleMania, which we'll get to now, it was, yeah, I had to listen to Vince McMahon and Susan St. James on commentary. Needless to say, I could have watched this entire segment on mute and would have been completely okay with it. Matter of fact, for the first 2 matches, I thought Susan was mute. Vince didn't really let her say anything, which, go figure that. That and she didn't seem confident in what she was saying. And then the 3rd match happened, and I wish she would stop talking, and we'll get into that when the 3rd match gets here. Because it honestly ruined the entire match for me. So the first match is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff versus the Magnificent Morocco, featuring Mr. Fuji with Mr. Morocco. This match sucked. Absolute trash. I hated it. I thought this match was boring. It was nothing but a few body slams, some strikes, some grapples. No moves were hit at all in this match. And then it ended in a double countout. Your opening match and your opening segment is a double countout. That's just horrible booking. It was a complete waste of time. This match had nothing interesting for me whatsoever. Rob gave it a C. I'd love to know how. He gave it a straight C, not a C minus, not a C plus. So I'm gonna assume he meant to give this a 5. I don't know how he did that. I'm going to give it a 1 just because it wasn't the worst match I've ever seen. So if he gave it a 5, I'm giving it a 1. That's going to average out to a 3, which is far more than this match actually deserves. Perfectly honest with you. Next up, we have George the Animal Steel versus Randy Savage. Macho Man one of my favorite wrestlers of all time from the olden days. And the first match I get to see of his, because I don't believe he was at Mania 1, is this dog shit. I actually would 100% agree with Rob's D-. This match was terrible. Not only that, but it was for the Intercontinental Championship, so I expected a lot more. I'm completely happy that Macho Man won, don't get me wrong, because, you know, again, I'm a big Macho Man fan, and I'm happy he kept the title against George the Animal Steele, but this match didn't have a lot at all. This match involved the Animal biting Macho Man multiple times, Macho Man running, because who the fuck wouldn't when a freak of nature called George the Animal Steele is trying to literally fucking eat you. Then George the Animal ate a turnbuckle, literally bit it, ripped it in half, ate the fluffing, knocked down Macho Man, fed him the fluffing. What? No. It seemed to be a spectacle for the people that were there, but it was dog awful. I'm going to completely agree with Rob with the D- category. Matter of fact, you could argue if this was an F and give it a 1, but even still, it's going to average out to a 1.5 if I do, so it's going to be averaged up to a 2, so I'm fine conceding to a 2. I gave it a D, he gave it a D-. I think it belongs in the 2 category. We'll just call it right in the middle. Next up, we have Jake the Snake Roberts versus George Wells. Yeah, this match was trash. I think that a D+ is probably being generous. George Wells hit him with the kitchen sink. Jake the Snake hit him with he hit him with 3 moves, and he won. That was it. He got his ass kicked all match, hit him with 3 moves, and then he threw a snake at him. Which, by the way, why did that snake not bite anybody? Just so you know, pretty sure that snake was taped, his mouth was taped closed. That's the only way he could be manhandling the snake like he did, and that snake not bite the ever-loving piss out of him. It's all I could think. First of all. Second of all, if Susan mentioned the snake in the bag one more time, I was going to throw my computer. It was absolutely ridiculous. This is where I told you I wish she was on mute. Vince McMahon was horrible to listen to in general, and then it's like the whole match was, oh god, the snake's in the bag, oh god, the snake's in the bag, the snake, he's got a snake there, ma'am, the snake head is still in the bag. As a matter of fact, I thought the snake was fake for a second because it didn't move. Stop it. It just, absolutely, just trash. Just put it in the 2. Honestly, it could go in the Z. I gave it a flat up 0. Actually, you know what? I gave it a flat 0. Rob gave it a D. He gave it a D+. Why would you do that to me? Whatever. He gave it a D+. I guess that means it's going to go in the 2 category, but God, it doesn't belong there. It belongs in the 0 or the 1, but whatever. If he gave it a D+, that'd be a 3. It's going to average out to a 1.5 at the worst, so we'll just leave it at a 2, and I'll just be angry about it. The next up, we have the final segment of Segment 1. The final match of Segment 1, and thank God, as you can tell, this first segment was fucking terrible. This last match was a boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper. And when I say this match was horrible, first of all, wrestling is scripted. I hope that's not like groundbreaking news to anyone, but wrestling is scripted. The stunts are real. They didn't do a lot of stunts back in the olden days, but wrestling is scripted, all right? I don't want to say fake because it's not fake. The bumps are real. A lot of the shit they do is real. First of all, how do you script a boxing match, okay? So not only are you scripting the wrestling, you're scripting the boxing, you're scripting what's supposed to be real hits. Ooh. Both of them were gassed. Just absolutely gassed by the middle of round 2. Someone told me when I was doing research on this that this was supposed to be a 10-round fight. Thank fuck that got scrapped, because this would have been a 6-hour WrestleMania, as dog shit as the 3 rounds we got were. Was it 3 rounds or was it 4 rounds? I don't know. It took too goddamn long. I gave this shit an F. Rob gave it a D-, so I think it completely fits in the 1 category. I'm going to call it a 0. He's going to call it a 2. That's going to average to a 1, and it's going to enjoy the F that it is. Oh, and not only that, but the boxing match ends in a body slam. And he gets disqualified because he hit him in a body slam. just in case you weren't convinced that that match is trash. Moving on to segment 2. First of all, 50 million more celebrities joined the cast for this one. Kathy Lee ended up joining this one as a commentator. She joined Gorilla Monsoon, Gene Okerlund, and Ernie Ladd on commentary. Was a much better commentary team than the first one. I will say that. I'll give segment 2 that. And then the matches happened. First off, we have the WWF Women's World Championship match between the Fabulous Moolah, who is the current champion, and Velvet McIntyre. Moolah won. That's literally, Rob just called it straight awful. He gave it a 0, which, honestly, it is. It's a straight up 0. This match is trash. At least Velvet shows that Solo Sikoa isn't the first person to decide to wear bare feet in the ring. The toes don't save this match. They actually make it quite worse, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't like feet, but that's irrelevant to this conversation. The fact of the matter is, this match was trash. The moves were terrible. And it was also extremely quick. Literally, I typed in the note. I literally have a note here that says, Velvet showing Solo and Matt Riddle didn't invent the feet out style of wrestling. And within the middle of typing that note, the match was over. Moolah hit some moves. Velvet kicked her once. That's how I noticed the feet. And then boom. It's over. I watched a 60-year-old squash match. Yeah, I don't think we have to argue that goes right in the 0 category where it belongs. Which is unfortunate because, you know, the women really didn't get a fair shake in a lot of these. You know, the women's wrestling was mostly used as a spectacle such as that. It was more made fun of because Vince McMahon's a piece of shit. But that was the 80s, and that's just what they did, and it was acceptable back then to do that to people and stuff. But yeah, sorry ladies, that match wasn't good. It was downright awful. Second up, we have a flag match between Corporal Kirchner. Wow. This is going to be a tongue twister. Corporal Kirchner versus Nikolai Volkov. Listen. The match wasn't terrible. It was, again, like WrestleMania 1, your typical America versus Russia. American flag versus the Russian flag, and the American flag has to win. Like, I get it. You know, I get it. It makes sense. I understand. It was a decent match, though. But it was a decent match. It really was. It was a high-energy match. Lots of strikes. You know, entertaining story involvement. They definitely got the crowd involved, which, again, like I said, can save or doom a match. And we'll talk about that a lot more later on in future WrestleManias. How a bad crowd can absolutely doom a match. The thing is, like, modern WWE striking, kicking, punching, turnbuckle combat, ground combat, outside the ring combat, weapon combat, the modern WWE has spoiled me on this. The strikes weren't good. They weren't believable, which is weird because this is back in the time where they wanted you to believe it was real, which is why they didn't have a lot of dropping you on your heads and stuff like that, unless the match was about to end. But, I mean, overall, you know, I gave it a C. I gave this match a C. Mostly because of everything else in the card. This was the most, like, actual match. It wasn't terrible, wasn't great, but better than anything else that I'd seen so far. It looks like Rob didn't quite agree. Gave it a D+. That's going to put it at a 3. I gave it a 5. That's going to average out to a 4. And I think, honestly, I think that's a respectable place for this to go. Is that a 4? The next match is, well, I don't really have it. I don't have a card for it here. The next match was technically a Battle Royal. Again, I don't have a card for it. I didn't realize that I didn't have a card for it until literally just now. It was a decent Battle Royal. I actually agree with Rob. I gave it a C. It involved a lot of NFL players. This was like a big WWF NFL combinations. Just basically fan service, which is probably why I don't have a card for it. I'm not going to include this in the actual like rating of this WrestleMania because this was a fan service filler match. But I agree with Rob. I gave it a C. I mean, you know, 20-person Royal Rumble. Well, technically it was a Royal Rumble, but 20-person Battle Royales, they just get really clunky and they get really messy, and you know, it's fun to watch, I guess. It's interesting if you did this in modern times, and I got to see Travis Kelce's and the Jason Kelce's and the Greg Kittles and the, the linemen, the Fletcher Coxes, the Jason Allen, like those people, Jonathan Allen, and stuff like that. Like those people, like maybe I would get into it. You know, I would be interested to see it just to see who eliminates the NFL players, right? Or do the NFL players eliminate any of the WWE players? You know, like I would be interested to see it, but it's a filler match, and I think it's putting it as a C is fine. It's pretty good. Next up on the actual card, we have the finale of segment 2. It was the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, and the Dynamite Kid with Captain Lou Albana and Ozzy fucking Osbourne in their corner, going up against the dream team of Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine with Johnny Valiant in their corner. New champs, British Bulldogs. I knew they were going to win when they walked out with Ozzy Osbourne wearing a pink fucking suit. Was absolutely stunning. It was actually a fantastic match overall, even regardless of that. I gave it a B. Looks like it's exactly what Rob gave it, was a B. I think it was a solid 7 out of 10 match. Nothing flashy, nothing amazing. Great back and forth. I actually thought it was it was a bit of a rush, but a creative ending. Action was back and forth, like I said. It was very entertaining. It was one of the very few matches where I went in not knowing who was going to win. If you look at this card, to be perfectly honest with you, up until now, this card was pretty predictable. That's it. I think it was a solid 7 out of 10. Yeah, enjoy your 7 out of 10 British Bulldogs and your champions. So moving on to segment 3, the redeeming segment of this entire Mania, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Segment 3 included Jesse Ventura, Lord Alfred Hayes, and Elvira as another celebrity appearance. Definitely my favorite for absolutely no reason at all, if you know my history. Yeah, honestly, I thought she was a fantastic commentator. She actually had a lot of great points. She was very interesting and entertaining on the mic. Jesse Ventura was a little bit much. But again, this is the time where heel commentaries just did whatever the hell they wanted to do. But overall, I thought that there was great chemistry between the three of them, which makes sense. Jesse Ventura and Lord Alfred Hayes, as well as Gorilla Monsoon, they kind of commentate most of these early WrestleManias, and they were kind of the main commentary team for most of the 80s and 90s, I believe. But yeah, it was a very interesting combination, and I actually enjoyed listening to them talk, and they added a lot of flavor to the matches, which honestly probably made these matches better, in a sense. First of all, we want to get to the first match of segment 3, which is Ricky the Steamboat versus Hercules Hernandez. This match was fantastic. As you can see, I gave it an A. Rob, as you can see, gave it a B. And I kind of want to talk to Rob about this match, because this is the first A that I have given out of both of these WrestleManias, which is shocking as much as I fucking despise this event. And I really want to break this match down with my good friend Rob. So with that, let's go to our match replay. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the match review, an actual match review. One that hopefully won't get this video blocked and banned and taken down. I'm sorry for the transgressions that I have done to you, WWE. My name is Eric, and I'm here with
Rob.
Or Tito.
Tito.
Luckily, I will say this. I have been spared having to review the Junkyard Dog match we were supposed to review.
He's a good wrestler.
He's not. As you guys saw, if you did not see the first WrestleMania, this is not the first time we've recorded this. This has required a re-record. Because initially we had recorded this while actually watching the match.
Mm-hmm. Straight dog.
And apparently, you're not allowed to do that. Otherwise, WWE send The Undertaker to your home and they drag your videos to the underworld. That's what they did. I uploaded 4 of these WrestleMania reviews to kind of get ahead of it, and they were all blocked and banned. So we're having to take those part out. We're having to re-record it, which is what you're seeing now. So that's the only explanation I'll give. Yeah, not exactly how we initially planned it, but again, it happens. So we're now recording these. I am not putting those. Anyway,
Got that dog in me, bro.
those are cat ears. Anyway, we're here to record. Don't ever do that again. We're here to talk about the Ricky Steamboat versus Hercules match from WrestleMania 2. So I guess to start off, Rob, since they've heard my opinions of this dog shit event, what are your opinions of WrestleMania 2 as a whole?
So, you would think that with WrestleMania 1, that's like, you can't expect much because it's number 1, right? You got to set a ground somewhere. But I did not think that WrestleMania 2 would be lower than the fucking bar.
Oh, true. And this isn't even the worst one, in my opinion. But
see, that's where I disagree. WrestleMania 2, to me, was just fucking awful, right? I think it had maybe like 1 or 2 good matches.
This being one of them.
Yes. Everything else was probably, at best, a D.
Fair.
Maybe low C if I remember my recordings right. But this match alone was like the standout. Okay, WrestleMania 1, it had, Hulk Hogan, obviously is the main draw, whatever. This match was the equivalent of Ricky Steamboat, who wasn't on WrestleMania 1, was the standout.
And Hercules surprisingly didn't bring this match down.
I mean, Hercules was always okay. He was never really bad in my eyes from what I've seen of him. But Ricky Steamboat was like, yo, we got something in this kid, quote unquote. Let's go ahead and roll with him. And it clearly shows in WrestleMania, 3, 4, and 6?
I believe so,
7?
Yeah. I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that this was one of those prototypical power versus technical match, right? You see it a lot, obviously, with WWE over the years. You have the quicker guy against the bigger giant guy. I mean, Ricky Steamboat's a tall dude himself. But I felt like with this match here in particular, you had Hercules with the power and the aggression and the offense on Steamboat. Then you had Steamboat being able to bounce off and withstand that punishment, inflict his own and his high-flying abilities. And I thought, while, of course, the bar was on the ground for this event, I feel like this was the easy match of the night. Again, bars on the ground. But I guess my follow-up question would be, do you think that this match seemed better because of how bad the rest of the card was?
Do I think it seemed better? Yes.
Like, do you think the card made it so we're like, oh, finally a good match, A? You know what I mean? Because we both gave this match an A. So it was like, was it like, oh, thank God, an actual wrestling match, A? I don't care. It's amazing. Or was this match like traditionally good for you?
I would say that psychologically it was like oh, thank God we have a good match. But you can also look, they both were very strong. One didn't outshine the other to make the other look weak, kind of thing. They both were good in their respective bouts. I gave it an A, not realizing that Steamboat was going to have all these other A-tier matches. Obviously the Steamboat Savage match, everyone knows that match. One of the greatest ones in fucking WrestleMania history.
Which I believe we review.
Yeah. So it was one of those like, okay, I would put it as an A because I was like, oh, Hercules looks strong. Steamboat, this is his coming out WrestleMania match. And he showed up.
I agree. For me, I think the one odd thing for me was, again, given that I'm not used to a lot of these wrestlers, his finisher struck me as odd initially. It's just he goes top rope slam, it's top rope crossbody. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of it. It's a top rope crossbody. That's his finisher. I always thought that was a bit odd. But again, I'm also spoiled by modern day finishers. So taking that away and thinking of that in the times, are your ears on?
Yes.
Sorry.
It has a little on button. See? Oh, look, it goes on the side. I forgot. Yeah, these are Lauren's, by the way.
I certainly hope so. Fantastic. I've never felt pretty. So I guess in conclusion here, what do you think? Because I feel like we both are in agreement that Ricky Steamboat is definitely
Standout.
the standout, not just of the match, but in this time period. I think there's only really a handful of wrestlers that stood out to me over these early 80s, mid 80s WrestleManias. Steamboat and Savage obviously being the two main ones. What do you think made Steamboat stand out amongst the other wrestlers of this time period?
His physique.
Well, they all had physique. Well, I guess no. Actually, no, they didn't. They were all kind of bigger people. That's a good point. But
So Steamboat has more of the broad shoulder V taper, and that is more aesthetically appealing to the eye, of like one that works out, compared to, Hercules or
being more of like the flayed out back type deal.
yeah, who was the blonde guy in WrestleMania 1?
Don Morocco?
No.
Oh.
He's got the long, like, Ric Flair-esque hair.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Mr. Perfect? No, he was later.
No, I think it was Jeff something.
Greg Valentine?
Greg Valentine, there we go.
Okay.
I don't know why, Jesus Christ. G&J, Jeff.
Jeff Jarrett
Gif.
comes much later.
Jeff Giff.
Oh, they turned themselves off and they talked to me in my ear. That was weird.
What?
They said power off and they turned off.
Oh. But, yeah, nah, like, he was more like, you can tell he was fit, but he was like a beer belly dad bod kind of fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As where Steamboat was like, rice, veggies, chicken.
That's right, kids. Rice, veggies, chicken, and you'll look just like Ricky Steamboat. Eat nothing else. For me, I felt the thing that drew me to Ricky
diet, so
that's true. The thing that drew me to Steamboat personally was the fact that his moveset was much more defined than a lot of other wrestlers of this time period. And it could be a factor of physique. Maybe the other wrestlers just couldn't do it. They couldn't handle it. But I felt like Ricky Steamboat's movesets were much more crisp. I mean, we both agree his arm bar takedown is
arm drag
takedown is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It is elegant. He makes that shit look like art.
Yeah.
We both agree with that. But his crossbody finisher looks good. His punches look good. His suplexes look good. He also
trained in martial arts, so there's that.
That is true, and that clearly helps him here. But yeah, we picked this match because it's the only good match on the card, but also for our love of Ricky Steamboat and our great respect for him in 80s wrestling. So, in conclusion, we both gave this match an A. We both really enjoyed this match. We both are really big Ricky Steamboat fans. I don't believe this is the last Ricky Steamboat match that we review in this series. And yeah, thank you guys for joining us for this little deeper dive breakdown on these two wrestlers. And Ricky Steamboat and in general. Back to me. So there you have it. That was our match replay of Ricky the Steamboat versus Hercules Hernandez. I really, like I said, I really can't believe I'm getting this match an A. Rob gave it a B. I think we can both agree that this match at least belongs in that 8 to 9 range. If you average it out, then you're going to end up getting a 9. You're getting about an 8.5. So again, we're going to take the higher number. We're going to bump it up. We're going to give it that 9. So that's where it's at, which is really shocking when you look at the rest of this card. And the rest of the card to come, because it still ain't perfect. The next one, we have Adrian Adonis with Jimmy Hart in his corner versus Uncle Elmer in a hair versus hair match, I believe is what it was. No, was it? Was this a hair? I honestly don't know. Great selling by Adonis. But this really kind of just seemed like a joke match. Uncle Elmer was a character that was clearly there to be made fun of. Adrian Adonis was apparently a lot better in the past, before WrestleMania was a thing. There was some there was some homosexual allegations towards him, and again, this is what I've researched based on this character, because I was very confused why this character seemed so offensive. And he was meant to be a homosexual caricature because of homosexual accusations. And again, in the 80s, not as accepted as it is today, although you could argue that it's not accepted today either, which is extremely unfortunate, if my personal opinion may be interjected there. But yeah, this match was basically made here to be a joke, and I didn't appreciate that. I thought it was offensive. Again, I have to look at this from 80s colored glasses here for a second, but even if you take away the offensiveness of the match, it's not good. Again, Adrian sells really well, but Uncle Elmer doesn't. There's barely any offense, there's barely any moves. I gave it a D because of Adonis' selling. He at least made the match entertaining. But Elmer was fucking awful. Just absolute terrible. No moves, horrible selling, looked slow around the ring. This was a bad match. This just really was a bad match. Rob gave it a flat out F. A 0 out of 10 because he said it was as bad as the women's match. I gave it a 2. We'll put it at a 1, which is still going to be an F. It was just a bad match overall. Just distasteful and bad at the same time, which is a horrible combination. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put it down here with 0. I'm gonna override my average roll. I think it belongs in the 0 category. Next up, we have the tag match with the Funk Brothers, Hoss and Terry Funk with Jimmy Hart, and the Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana. I can't believe that I'm giving a Junkyard Dog match an A. I know. As much shit as I talked about him last time, he gets carried by the excellence of the Funk Brothers and Tito Santana. Absolutely phenomenal. They sold his fucking stupid headbutts exceptionally. I'm just waiting for him to pee on a hydrant at some point. I hate the character. I hate it so much. Anyway, there was lots of emotion. Extremely high energy. And that's the one thing Junkyard Dog does well. He's an extremely highly energetic competitor, which I really appreciate. A little bit too much from Terry Funk. I thought he kind of oversold a little bit, but that was just kind of his style of wrestling. They made it a little bit goofy, but goofy was good back then. People liked it. This was an example of when the crowd makes a match better. The crowd loved Junkyard Dog. They loved the Funk Brothers. They seemed to like Tito Santana, but overall, the energy of the match, it fled in. Like, you could tell, like, they were feeling the crowd was getting them hyped up, the moves were flowing. It was a great back and forth match. The Funk Brothers did end up winning, which I guess were technically the bad guys in this because Junkyard Dog was so over, but it was great. Yeah, honestly, this is a ton of a fun match. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Rob gave it a B. I'm gonna stick with it, and I'm actually gonna put it the same place I put our last A versus B, and that's at a 9. I gave it a 9. He gave it an 8. It's gonna average out to an 8.5 anyway. So yeah, we'll go there. I think it's a perfect spot for it. Last but not least, we have our main event of WrestleMania 2, and it was Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in a cage match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, it was really interesting just kind of seeing the old cage. I thought it was interesting just seeing the blue and like the much smaller cage. It was clearly designed for function rather than like looks, whereas the modern cage is kind of a bit of both. It's more for appearances as well as function. What I was shocked to find out, now I thought this was a recent thing, but I thought exiting the door was a recent thing. And it was usually what heels do to try to get out of the cage quicker, is they'll go out through the door instead of over the top. But King Kong Bundy tried to do it like 6 times. Overdid it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But yeah, that was news to me. I thought that was a recent thing that recently started happening with cage matches. Because when I was younger, and maybe this is like a rule that changed and then changed back, but when I was younger, I always thought it was over the top. Like, even in the video games, you couldn't exit to the door. You had to go over the top. So I don't know if it was like a rule that changed and it came back. I'll have to obviously do some research on that. Maybe these WrestleManias will end up telling that story as I go. But yeah, honestly, this match was pretty decent. I thought it was a great back and forth, which I was surprising because King Kong Bundy is not my favorite wrestler of all time. And Hulk also is not my favorite wrestler of all time. But this match wasn't terrible. Rob gave it a C+. I gave it a B. I would say probably like a low B, like a 7. So if Rob gave it a C+, that'd be a 6. This is going to average out to a 6.5. We'll bump it up to a 7. But ultimately, yeah, I honestly thought this match was decent. I thought the back and forth, of course, Hulk Hogan, getting out. The reason that I can't put this above a 7, even though it was an entertaining match, is Hulk Hogan just forgot that he was supposed to be selling a rib injury and a back injury. That was the whole premise of the match, was his injuries. And he was selling them really well for the first half and then just decided, I'm done selling. Which doesn't surprise me. It's Hulk Hogan. I get pumped up on the Hulkamaniacs and the vitamins and the prayers and all of a sudden ribs don't hurt. I can only assume that's the story that they're telling here. But it didn't land on me. So that's why a 7 is the highest I could go, even though it was a very entertaining match. But yeah, as you can tell, the highs, fairly high. 2 7s. Our first 2 A's of this review, which comes in what looks like the worst fucking pay-per-view out of the bunch. Although WrestleMania 6, once I get to that one, because I have already watched WrestleMania 6, once we get to that one, I'll be interested to see if WrestleMania 6 tops this as the worst, but we'll have to see. Just because, like I said, these lows are fucking low. Like 2 zeros, that's bad. You have 2 zeros on a WrestleMania card and a 1, that's bad. WrestleMania 6 might be worse though. But yeah, obviously we'll go ahead and average all this up. So this WrestleMania averaged out to a 4. So WrestleMania 2, you are a 4 overall. Not as good as WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania 1 was a 4.8, so it's averaged out to a 5. If we want to keep that ranking scale up, which is actually surprising. I was not expecting these to be as close as they were. Mostly because I feel like WrestleMania 1 had very little Fs, but nothing as good as the 2 matches here. And I think that's the difference here between WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2, which actually may end up making WrestleMania 6 the worst rated WrestleMania, honestly, because I don't think I have an A on that one, but obviously we'll get to that when we get to it. That's it for WrestleMania 2, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. WrestleMania 3 will be coming out tomorrow. When I record WrestleMania 3, I have no idea. But yeah, that'll be it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with our WrestleMania 3 review. And I hope you enjoy these 39 WrestleManias in 39 days. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.